Releasing a new piece of hardware is always a risk for a company, regardless of how established they are. And yes, hindsight is always 20/20. However, in 1989, Nintendo developed the right formula for a portable game console that hit the sweet spot for price and performance in a way that the world had never seen before. The Nintendo Game Boy launched with 5 games in North America, but the game with the most to prove to the true NES hard Nintendo fans was undoubtedly Super Mario Land. In the summer of 1989, there were already 2 mainline Mario titles released on the NES, and both were incredibly popular. A portable Mario title had some pretty big shoes to fill to replicate the awesome platforming mechanics of its NES counterparts, yet still finding ways to excite gamers sitting in front of that 2.6-inch black and white screen.
Hey, that's asking a lot, kid. I mean, we're just plumbers.
Darn right, a lot was riding on the shoulders of this simple, quirky Mario game. And even though it was not a flawless title, Super Mario Land landed as a special piece of Mario history. Let's see how Nintendo is going to hype us up for Super Mario Land. The cover art for Super Mario Land is an explosion of color, danger, adventure, and has tons of that gritty Mario attitude on display. Or maybe it just feels that way because there are 3 Marios on display. But these aren't just 3 regular platforming Marios. No, these are 3 completely different gameplay types, front and center. First, we've got Mario the standard issue platformer, angry that a giant sphinx is shooting a fireball at his backside. Above him is Sky Pop Mario, blasting birds and bricks out of the sky with his mega missile launcher. Finally, there is Marine Pop Mario, launching watery torpedoes at everything in sight underneath Bermuda. Accompanying these Marios are new enemies, a new villain, a new princess, a new land. This box art looks like a 90s wall poster. It is that incredible. Join Mario in a world of strange creatures greets us on the back, and what a strange place it is. The first screenshot on the back sets up the very first world, Egypt, or Birabudo. Like most Egyptian-themed levels in video games, pyramids and palm trees decorate the outside, while a cavernous, candle-flickering interior to the pyramid, with very well-defined hieroglyphs, mark the inside of the underground level. Mario is jumping bravely in both of the screenshots, which is exactly what we want to see to bring action to a static image. Just when you think it can't get any better, those writers at Nintendo give Mario a whip-cracking, Club Obi-Wan, short-round connection when it reads, Mario runs, jumps, and bounces his way to fortune and glory.
Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory.
Indeed. The box art for Super Mario Land is one of the best in terms of art and hype in the entire Game Boy library, and certainly the best looking box art of the 5 launch games. It's time to boot up the cart and see how Mario's first adventure handles on the go. Super Mario Land is heavily inspired from the original Mario Bros. On the NES, even though it came out 10 months after Super Mario Bros. 2 on the NES. Mario moves in 2 dimensions and has a familiar set of moves and power-ups. Mushroom to embiggen, Star to go invincible, and needs to save a new princess in a new world. Mario travels through 12 levels, 3 levels per world, in order to rescue the princess from an evil alien mech monster, Tatanga.
Topanga?
No, Tatanga. While this adventure is shorter than both NES games, Super Mario Land still takes an average of 20 to 30 minutes to beat, although speedrunners get there in under half that time. Now, it might take an hour-long video to talk about all of the weirdness of this game, and there is plenty of it. But there are three main things that stand out that Super Mario Land does differently than any Mario game that came before it. Level exits, a fireball on steroids, and Mario's piloting skills.
Let us prepare for battle.
First, when Mario gets to the end goal of the level, there are actually two exits. A skilled player finds their way to the top exit and is rewarded with a bonus minigame that awards 1-ups or Super Ball power-ups. The bottom exit just takes Mario on to the next level. It's a really cool and simple addition that makes the player pay a little more attention at the end of the levels and allows them to bank extra lives throughout the game. Second, even though this little guy looks like a fire flower power-up, Mario gains much more than a simple fireball. It's called the Super Ball, and it basically is a fireball that bounces around objects in the environment, catching coins and destroying bad guys. It's a kind of neat addition that makes for a few physics-based, can I get that coin scenarios. No other mainstream Mario game uses this power-up. It does not make an appearance in Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins, which makes it worth checking out here. Finally, Mario has two basic shmup or shooter levels in this game. In one, he pilots a sub, called Marine Pop, and he shoots aquatic life and bricks with torpedoes as the screen scrolls. In the very last level of the game, Mario transforms into Sky Pop, where the level scrolls again and presents our hero with baddies and bricks to shoot down that includes flying chickens, a shy cloud, and the final big bad evil guy, Topanga.
Topanga? I don't think so.
Graphically, Mario is a simple sprite who we will hardly recognize in his sequel, 6 Golden Coins. But it makes sense because this is clearly inspired by the low pixel art of the original Mario Bros. Game and the limitations of the Game Boy's screen. All of the representations of sprites are mini pixels that we're familiar with. Backgrounds are simple, but they were also simple in Super Mario Bros. 1. The graphics do not push the system's capabilities, nor were they alone a wow factor. They simply establish Mario's presence on this new system, and they do a fine job. You just can't talk about Super Mario Land without talking about its outstanding soundtrack.
Love my plumber, love my wrench. Once I sat on the bench.
The nostalgia from the opening level theme to Egypt is peppy, catchy, and perfectly captures the essence of Mario, and it actually captures the essence of anyone who owned a Game Boy from this time. This music definitely brings me back, and it only gets better from there. Hirokazu Tanaka fills this adventure with appropriate upbeat melodies. Gloominess. And visions of a strange new land. My suggestion, play it loud. Mario Madness was real and crazy back in 1989, and Nintendo needed to show the world that it could create a compelling Mario adventure on the go that not only looked and played like his NES counterparts, but gave gamers a little something new.
And Mario is your only hope. Team up with him in Super Mario Land. Guide him on the Nintendo Gameboy.
And it worked. Super Mario Land, although simple, was and still is a joy to play. Are the physics spot on? No, not exactly, but it's close and players adapt. Is it short? Yeah, a little. However, this humble entry in the Mario franchise did exactly what Nintendo needed. The public, and perhaps more importantly, other game developers, realized that if Nintendo could successfully shrink their superstar franchise down to an on-the-go scale, so could they. Contra, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, DuckTales, Batman. You have it on the NES? Port it to the Game Boy. Desaturate, simplify, deliver the goods, repeat. I think the most important thing that Super Mario Land did at launch was that it proved that Nintendo had some amazing programmers and developers that could make any kid of the late 80s and the early 90s think that they were cheating the gods of technology and able to take the NES with them on the go. We certainly had to use our imagination, but this was awesome. If Nintendo had flubbed this game, who knows where the history of the Game Boy would have ended up. Super Mario Land was the 4th highest selling Game Boy game of all time, selling almost 19 million copies. These are phenomenal figures, selling even more than its well-regarded sequel, Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins. Don't get me wrong, your imagination is definitely required when trying to reconcile this to this, but it is still pretty sweet. If you care about Mario or the Game Boy whatsoever, you owe it to yourself to breathe in that box art hype. Throw in some batteries, plug in the game, turn up the sound, and let those tunes and simplistic gameplay take you for 20 to 30 minutes back to the launch of the Game Boy in 1989. It's a trip worth taking. And that, paisanos, is Super Mario Land. Thanks so much for watching my video on Super Mario Land. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Boy Meets Game, where we look at classic games from a slightly different perspective. Thanks so much, and see you soon.